Hello everyone and a very warm welcome back to the library. It's open, so I hope you brought your library cards, my darlings. It's the return of the pop. Today we are taking our it's the first part of a deep dive into the most anticipated releases of 2022. We've done this for the last couple of literary years running, and this year shall be no exception. So in the first part, I'll be dealing with books that are going to be released from January to approximately June, although we may not cover all the months. And I'll be choosing 11. And then sometime in the middle of the year, I'll do a follow-up for all the books that will be released in the latter half of the year. So kind of July to December. And there'll be another 11. And then altogether, it's 22. You see, it's 22 for 22 with the library is open. That's how it works. All right, my angels, let's get stuck in. So first up, quite fittingly, given that January is, widely acknowledged as Veganuary, we have This is Vegan Propaganda by Ed Winters, which is subtitled And Other Lies the Meat Industry Tells You. So this is published by eBury and comes out on the 6th of January. So depending on when I upload this, it may already be available. And it's blurbed by Moby, would you believe? Moby, the big bald beggar, and also Matt Haig, who wrote The Midnight Library, amongst others. So this is non-fiction, obviously, and the kind of blurb is, every time we eat, we have the power to radically transform the world we live in. Through exploring the major ways that our current system of animal farming affects the world around us, as well as the cultural and psychological factors that drive our behaviours, This is Vegan Propaganda answers the pressing question, is there a better way? Well, yes, there obviously is. Ed Winters is an activist and vegan educator from the UK. He's a public speaker, and he's done a couple of TED Talks that have got loads of views online. So if you're interested in what he has to say on both veganism and life in general, check out those and maybe pick up a copy of this. I know that I will be when it's released on the 6th of January. So this is Vegan Propaganda by Ed. Is it Winters? Before I give you the wrong information, it's Winters. There you go, you see. Trust your instincts. Also out on the 6th of Jan, a fiction one this time, Wahala by Nikki May, which is published by Transworld. This is a beautiful cover, and apparently the Waterstones edition has some sprayed edges and exclusive content, so I'm probably going to be plumping for that. So this is described as being perfect for fans of Queenie and also My Sister the Serial Killer, both of which have been really huge books in recent years. And blurb-wise, we've got Ronke, Simi, Boo are three mixed-race friends living in London. They have the gift of two cultures, Nigerian and English. Not all of them choose to see it that way. Everyday racism has never held them back, but now in their 30s, they question their future. Ronke wants a husband. Boo enjoys stay-at-home motherhood, while Simi, full of fashion career dreams, rolls her eyes as her boss refers to her urban vibe yet again. And when Isabel, a lethally glamorous friend from their past, arrives in town, that's a great phrase, isn't it? Lethally glamorous. She's determined to fix their futures for them. Cracks in their friendship begin to appear, and it's soon obvious Isabel is not sorting, but wrecking. When she's driven to a terrible act, the women are forced to reckon with a crime in their past that may just have repeated itself. So this sounds really, really fascinating. Completely drawn in by the cover art to begin with, but also the, recommended for fans of, as it were. And this is a fearlessly political novel that touches on class, colorism, and clothes. And also, of course, issues of friendship and, when our past comes back to haunt us. So I think that sounds fantastic. Wahala by Nikki May, 6th of January. Thirdly, we have one that I predict will be absolutely massive this year, so much so that I've already pre-ordered it, and that is Hanya, Yanagihara's new novel, To Paradise, which is published by Pan Macmillan and comes out on the 11th of January. It's a big chunkster pre-warning. It's 620 pages, which is about right for the author, who also wrote the smash hit A Little Life, which, well, I say smash hit, it was quite divisive in some respects. Some people hated it. I personally loved it. And she also wrote The People in the Trees. The blurb for this one is, it's a bold, brilliant novel, not my words, but I'm sure it will be, spanning 3 centuries and 3 different versions of the American experiment: lovers, family, loss, and the elusive promise of utopia. So in an alternate version of 1893 America, New York is part of the free states where people may live and love whomever they please, or so it seems. The fragile young scion of a distinguished family resists betrothal to a worthy suitor, drawn instead to a charming music teacher of no means. In 1993, Manhattan is besieged by the AIDS epidemic, and a young Hawaiian man lives with his much older, wealthier partner, hiding his troubled childhood and the fate of his father. And in 2093, in a world riven by plagues and governed by totalitarian rule, sounds familiar, a powerful scientist's damaged granddaughter tries to navigate life without him and solve the mystery of her husband's disappearance. So these 3 sections are joined in an enthralling and ingenious symphony as recurring notes and themes deepen and enrich one another. So, this is going to be absolutely epic, I think, in terms of scale and storytelling. It's probably going to be a tearjerker. It's probably going to be quite difficult in places, as is normal with Hanya Yanagihara's work, but I do think it will absolutely be worth the ride. So, as I say, it's 720 pages, but based on my previous experience of her work, it's really worth putting the time in. So, as I say, I've pre-ordered this and I can't wait to get to it. So that's To Paradise, Hanya Yanagihara, the 11th of January. Ooh, it's all intriguing. This next one is right up my street, as you'll know if you've ever spent any time with me whatsoever, either in person or virtually. This is The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont. And this comes out on the 20th of January and is published by Pam Macmillan. And this is yet another novel that takes as its inspiration Agatha Christie's 11-Day Disappearance in 1926 and then plays fast and loose with the truth. Well, I mean, none of us to this day really know what happened during that period, only that Agatha Christie disappeared and then returned. And rumours have abounded ever since, but we've never really got to the nub of what that was about. So in the blurb we get, in 1926, Agatha Christie disappeared for 11 days. Only I know the truth of her disappearance. I'm no Hercule Poirot. I'm her husband's mistress. So Agatha Christie's world is one of glamorous society parties, country house weekends and growing literary fame. Nano Day's world is something very different. Her attempts to escape a tough London upbringing during the Great War led to a life in Ireland marred by hidden tragedy. After fighting her way back to England, she set her sights on Agatha, because Agatha has something Nan wants, and it's not just her husband. Oh, so this sounds like a fictionalised account of what happened during that fateful period. And I very much suspect it's going to play into the whole sort of Agatha Christie as detective or on a secret mission sort of thing that other novels and also TV shows have played into over the years. There is some grains of truth in there. Her husband at the time did have a mistress, although that wasn't the name of his mistress. I believe it was Theresa Neale, maybe? No, or was that the name that Agatha chose to assume while she was missing? I forget. Anyway, yes, so it's sort of, I suppose, a form of literary docufiction in some respects, with a kind of real-world inspiration and then, some fictionalised, good old-fashioned whodunit crime, golden age goodness. Can't wait for that. That's The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont on the 20th of January. January is shaping up to be a bumper month. Slide into February now, specifically the 3rd of February, and the release of Boy in a China Shop, Life, Clay and Everything by Keith Brymer Jones. This is published by Hodder and Stoughton and is an autobiography or a memoir of Keith Brymer Jones, who you may know if you are a fan of The Great Pottery Throwdown. He is one of the judges, kind kind of experts. Lovely man, always quite tearful and moved by art, which is just gorgeous to see. And this is his memoir, basically. It says, ballet dancer, frontman in an almost famous band, judge on the Great Pottery Throwdown. How did all that happen? By accident, mostly. It says, every chapter of this book is based around an object, usually a pot that's been significant in my life. It's just a trigger to let me go off in a lot of different directions and tell a few stories. A lot of stories. Oh, I see that Keith's written the blurb himself. Sifting through half-forgotten memories, trying to pick out golden nuggets from the stuff that is definitely dross has been curious and at times hilarious. Sometimes sad, but definitely an enlightening process. So here it is, my pottery life with some very loud music and some pretty good dancing. A lot of throwing, fettling and firing. Oh, and a good dose of anxiety. Now, that's just delightful. I think Keith's just a wonderful human and, you know, a really warm presence. So I'm looking forward to this very much. That's Boy in a China Shop on the 3rd of February, published by Hodder and Stoughton. On the same day. Why is everyone published on the same day? There must be a reason for that. Do tell me if you know. To reiterate, that's the 3rd of February. We have Notes on an Execution. We're back in fiction realm now, by Danya Kukafka. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who apparently wrote a novel called Girl in Snow, which I haven't read, but apparently is very good. This is published by Orion, and is apparently a searing and intelligent novel focusing on 3 women whose lives are irrevocably changed by their contact with a brutal murderer on death row. Makes me think a little bit of Lisa Taddeo and 3 Women. Although I'm sure it's not the same. So the blurb is, Ansel Packer is scheduled to die in 12 hours. He knows what he's done and now awaits the same fate he forced on those girls years ago. Ansel doesn't want to die. He wants to be celebrated and understood. But this is not his story. As the clock ticks down, 3 women uncover the history of a tragedy and the long shadow it casts. This is the story of the women left behind. So apparently this is a sort of a subversion of the serial killer narrative, which interrogates our cultural obsession with crime and asks readers to consider the false promise of looking for meaning in the minds of violent men. I just think that sounds fascinating. It has had a bookseller review. I'm looking on the Waterstones website at the moment, which gives it completely rave reviews of 5 stars and describes it as groundbreaking. So I think this sounds quite hard-hitting, but really juicy and tofu-y, which is what I mean, which is what I say when I mean meaty. So, yep, there you go. 3rd of February, Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka. Great cover too. Now, this one is exciting. I've been waiting for this one to be released in the UK for ages. It's been out for a while in the States, but the UK publication has just taken a lot longer. I don't know why. But this is also out on the 3rd of February and is by Mona Awad and is called All's Well, published by Simon & Schuster. And just look at that cover. That's gorgeous. I actually think this is nicer, much nicer than the American cover. No offence. This is by the author of Bunny, which I haven't read but have heard a lot about, and is about a college theatre director called Miranda who is in chronic pain and is developing a dependence on painkillers, and she's about to lose her job at the college where she's determined to direct a production of Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well. However, she faces a mutinous cast hell-bent on staging Macbeth instead, and she sees her chance at redemption slipping through her fingers, but that's when she meets 3 strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of her past and a tantalising promise for her future, one where the show goes on, her rebellious students get what's coming to them, and the invisible pain that's kept her from the spotlight is finally made known. So I think this is interesting for several reasons. One, because a lot of people have described it as horror, which I find quite interesting based on that blurb. Of course, horror is a feeling and not, a literary type per se. We can't say what someone else will find horrific. But I'm also really interested in the Shakespeare connection and also the exploration of chronic pain, which, I think we hear a lot about, but I don't think we really appreciate. So I'm really looking forward to this one, if just to own that cover as well, because it's stunning. So that's All's Well, 3rd of February by Mona Awad. So we're rip-roaring into April now, because March doesn't count, apparently, in book world. No, I'm kidding. But we are in April for our next release, which comes out on the 7th of April, and is, very excitingly, a companion piece by Ali Smith, and this is published by Penguin. And this is, in fact, a follow-up to Ali Smith's seasonal quartet, Spring, Summer, Autumn and Winter, which I did a kind of deep dive review reading vlog about, I think either earlier this year or the previous year, I forget. Where does the time go? But obviously, as before, the kind of details around this are being kept kind of under wraps, because as I recall with the seasonal quartet, they were almost being written in real time, so we're not quite sure what the plot's going to be yet. But from the Waterstones website, thank you Waterstones, we get after providing a near real-time commentary on Me Too, Brexit and the refugee crisis and a global pandemic, Ali Smith returns with a luminous novel that explores companionship in its innumerable manifestations as the world continues to change rapidly. Now, that's all we know, and that's all I really need to know after really loving the seasonal quartet, just the lyrical quality of it, the wistful kind of whimsical storytelling that was still managed to be really hard-hitting. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what Ali Smith has to say about, the way we live now. So that's Companion Piece by Ali Smith, out on April the 7th. Roll on April. Another one that's going to be incredibly hotly anticipated, and indeed on the Waterstones pre-order website you are limited to one per customer. This is Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart, which comes out on the 14th of April, published by Pam Macmillan, and this is the second novel of the writer who wrote the Booker Prize winner Shuggie Bain last year, which I didn't read, but I probably will read this one, not just because the very evocative cover, which I believe is a photo print by Wolfgang Tillman, although I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll put the actual photographer in the description. But this is an emotionally powerful and compassionate portrayal of sexuality and community set in urban Glasgow, as two young men on either side of a sectarian divide start to develop feelings for each other. So that's Protestant Mungo and Catholic James live in the hyper-masculine and violently sectarian world of Glasgow's housing estates. They become best friends as they find sanctuary in the pigeon dovecote that James has built for his prize racing birds. And then they find themselves falling in love as they dream of escaping the city. There's going to be, probably a lot of heavy emotional content in this, exploration of class, masculinity, probably, sorry, I just clicked my finger there, and, a real kind of hard-hitting edge to this, as was from, if reviews are to be believed, and obviously the prize-giving committee, as was the case with Shuggie Bain. So this is going to be on everybody's lips come next year. That's Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart, out on the 14th of April. And of course, would it be a Library is Open most anticipated book vlog without some kind of Greek retelling? I probably not. And this one is Elektra by Jennifer Saint, who wrote Ariadne, the retelling of Ariadne, which came out last year. And this is published on the 28th of April. And this is a spellbinding reimagining of Greek myth, this time focused on the origins of the Trojan War. And the dreadful curse blighting the house of Atreus. A bloodline tainted by a generational cycle of violence and vengeance. This is the story of three women, their fates inextricably tied to the curse and the fickle nature of men and gods. So it focuses on Clytemnestra, the sister of Helen, wife of Agamemnon, Cassandra, the princess of Troy, who is the seer, and Elektra, the youngest daughter of Clytemnestra and Agamemnon, who is horrified by the bloodletting of her kin, but can she escape the curse, or is her own destiny also bound up by violence? This one's published by Headline, as I didn't say, and that cover is absolutely stunning. You know I'm a sucker for anything green and shiny, so that's how to get me if you ever want to trap me. And that's Eletra, coming out on the 28th of April by Jennifer Saint. And last but by no means least, for part 1, this is also coming out on the 28th of April, and I was late to the party with her first novel, Queenie, but I won't be late this time. This is Candice Carty-Williams' People Person. And the blurb says, if you could choose your family, you wouldn't choose the Penningtons. Dimple Pennington knew of her half-siblings, but she didn't really know them. 5 people who don't have anything in common except for faint memories of being driven through Brixton in their dad's gold Jeep. Dimple has bigger things to think about. She's 30 and her life isn't really going anywhere. An aspiring influencer with a terrible wayward boyfriend, her life has shrunk to the size of a phone screen. That is until a dramatic event brings her half-siblings Nikisha, Danny, Lizzie and Prince crashing back into her life. And when they're forced to reconnect with Cyril Pennington, the absent father they never really knew, things get even more complicated. Ooh. This is published by Orion, and based on the cover alone, I think we can expect the kind of deceptively comedic and affirming things that made Queenie so great, that don't skimp on the kind of hard-hitting emotional heft of the stories. I've said emotional heft quite a lot in this video, I'm realising. But I loved Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams, and this time I'm determined to be in from the get-go with the appreciation of People Person, which again is out on the 28th of April. So there we have it, our first 11 for 22, or the first half of our 22 for 22. So I hope you enjoyed that and you found something there to be excited about. I know I'm excited about each and every one of them. Frankly, I can't wait. So anyway, that's the end of today's little vlog. So put your library cards somewhere safe until you need them again. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know what you're most looking forward to this year, whether or not it's in this video or whether it's something that I've never even heard of. I always love reading your comments, so please do, if you want to, just drop them below and give us a like if you enjoyed this video, or even if you didn't. Come on, be nice. It's been a difficult year for us all. It's been a difficult 3 years. But until next time, be safe, be literate. That sounds awful, doesn't it? I mean, be literary is a better way to say it. And look after yourselves and the people around you. Much love and happy book sniffing. Mwah.